Good morning. My name is Don Seaman. I didn't see anybody show up to do the usual part of this today, so I'm going to do it for you in terms of giving you your welcome and announcements. I'll also be doing the sermon this morning, so I'm not going to bother changing hats. I'll just continue on. So, I've been a member here for over 35 years. Been here since I was a little kid. But anyhow, welcome to First Parish Unitarian Universalist Canton. We are a welcoming, caring, and diverse faith community that seeks to nurture and inspire each person's spiritual journey while serving others in our commitment to peace and justice. Thank you, Jim. That was lovely. All right. So here we go. I'd like to welcome everybody here today. This Sunday was set aside as an opportunity for the Masons in the community to come out and participate in the church community. As Freemasons, the men who belong to the fraternity are encouraged to participate in their own faith communities. And for those of you who know me, you see me around a bit here. But anyhow, I'm going to start off this morning with the opening words. I'm going to read a poem. All the selections I've chosen for readings this morning are related to Freemasonry. This one is called The Temple. It's by Lawrence N. Greenleaf. The temple made of wood and stone may crumble and decay, but there's a viewless fabric which shall never fade away. Age after age, each mason strives to carry out his plan, but still the work's unfinished with which those ancient three began. None but immortal eyes may view complete in all its parts the temple formed of living stones, the structure made of hearts. 'Neath every form of government and every age and clime, amid the world's convulsions and ghastly wrecks of time, while empires rise in splendor and are conquered and overthrown, and cities crumble in the dust, their very sights unknown. Beneath the sunny smile of peace, the threatening frown of strife, lo, Masonry has stood unmoved, with age renewed her life. She claims her votaries in all climes, for none are under ban who place implied trust in God and toward their fellow man. The heart that shares another's woes beats just as warm and true within the breast of Christian or Mohammedan or Jew. She levels all distinctions from the highest to the least. The kings must yield obedience to the peasant in the east. What honored names on history's page, or whose brave deeds we pour, have knelt before our sacred shrine and trod the checkered floor. Kings, princes, statesmen, heroes, bards, who squared their actions true, between the pillars on the porch, they pass in long review. O brothers, what a glorious thought for us to dwell upon, the mystic tie which binds our hearts, bound that of Washington. Although our past achievements we conscious pride review, as long as there's rough ashlars, there's work for us to do. We must still shape the living stone with instruments of love for that eternal mansion in the paradise above. Toil as we've toiled in ages past to carry out the plan. 'Tis the fatherhood of God, the brotherhood of man. Please join with me in singing hymn number 288 in the gray hymnal, All Our Architects. What makes you a Mason, O brother of mine? It isn't the dew-guard, nor is it the sign. It isn't the jewel which hangs on your breast. It isn't the apron in which you are dressed. It isn't the step, nor the token, nor grip, nor lectures that flow fluently from the lip, nor yet the possession of that mystic word on 5 points of fellowship duly conferred. Though these are essential, desirable, fine, they don't make a Mason, O brother of mine. That you in your sworn obligation are true, 'tis that, brother of mine, makes a Mason of you. Secure in your heart, you must safeguard your trust. With lodge and with brother, be honest and just. Assist the deserving who cry in their need. Be chaste in thought, in your word and deed. Support him who falters with hope, banish fear, and whisper advice in an erring one's ear. Then will the great lights in your path brightly shine, and you'll be a Mason, O brother of mine. Your use of life hours by the gauge you must try, the gavel to vices with courage apply. Your walk must be upright as shown by the plumb, on the level to born whence no travelers come. The book of your faith be the rule and the guide, the compass your passions shut safely inside. The stone which the architect placed in your care must pass the strict test of his unerring square, and then you will meet with approval divine, and you'll be a Mason, O brother of mine. At this point, we will ask for our offering to support the work of this congregation.
Friends, forget the cares that bore us. Come and join the jolly chorus, a song of praise to happy days. Let us be merry, young men, all you sit so idly in your places, with gloomy looks upon your faces. Come on, rejoice, and raise your voice, to happy days, a song of praise, a song of praise. Are you like donkeys far too old to bray? Are you like donkeys far too old to bray? Sing out, sing out, sing out now loud and strong, laugh and be gay. We toast romance and joyous song, may they be with us all life long. Long live, long live, long live, romance and song.
Friends, forget the cares that bore us. Come and join the jolly chorus, a song of praise to happy days. Let us be merry, one and all. You sit so highly in your
Friends,
places.
forget the cares that bore us.
He looks upon your
Come and
faces.
join the jolly
Come on,
chorus.
rejoice,
A song of
and
praise
raise your
to
voice.
happy days.
To happy days,
Let
a
us
song
be
of praise,
merry,
a song
one
of
and all. You sit
praise.
so widely
Are
in
you
your
like donkeys,
places.
far too old to pray?
With gloomy looks
Are
upon
you
your
like donkeys,
faces.
far too old to pray?
Come on,
Sing,
rejoice, and
sing,
raise your voice. To
sing,
happy days, a
come
song
on,
of
let's
praise,
all
a
laugh
song
and be
of praise.
gay.
Are you like donkeys, far too old to
Enjoy a
pray?
song.
Are you like donkeys, far too old to pray? Sing
uplift,
sing out, sing out loud and strong, laugh and be
song.
gay. We toast romance and joyous song. May they be with us all life long. Long live, long live, long live, romance and song.
And the words were like donkeys too old to bray, not pray. Give to your God, return to him the smallest portion he has given to aid his children along the road up to the gates of heaven. Give to your God his church sustained, that others may his grace receive within the house of his abode, their weary souls relieve. Give to your God, thus you will build your future home above. 'Tis only what you give, not buy, not price, not gain, but love. Give to your God, you surely know, whate'er you give is only lent, and will return 100-fold, a balance truly munificent. So, here we are. Today, I was here last year doing a similar kind of thing because trying to get out into the community a little bit more as Masons and let people know who we are and the business that we're about. So today, I want to share some of my thoughts on what underlies Freemasonry, some of that which inspires me and other men to be active in the fraternity. I want to talk about what brings me to lodge meetings month after month and year after year. But first, a few things you might want to know about Freemasonry. Freemasonry is a fraternity that historically dates back at least several hundred years, very much so in the formation of our country. More if you consider the place of Masons in the cathedral building of the Middle Ages, and even further back if you consider references to the building of King Solomon's Temple or the Masonic symbols found on stones on the pyramids of Egypt. Freemasonry's roots are in practical and applied arts that provide mankind with shelter from the elements and thereby a more comfortable life. In ancient times, Freemasons differed from local Masons, the guys who did you piled up your stone walls and the lintels in your doorways and that kind of thing. The difference was that they were allowed to travel and work in foreign countries. Freemasons were not bound to lord or king, and this is what made them free. The closely guarded secrets of Freemasons were those that were related to science and practical arts and separated them as a group as being unique. Those were the skills that allowed them to build structures that through experience and practice increased in size and complexity. The grandeur of castles and churches with their prominent ornamentation and hidden symbols remain as reminders of the creative and aspirational work of our forebears. The degrees or ritual work of Freemasonry are based on the allegory of the building of King Solomon's Temple. Building the temple was Building the temple was intended to honor God and give thanks for the blessings of the life, the blessings of life. Construction of the temple required a wide variety of resources that spanned from the treasure required to purchase building materials, to feeding and sustaining the workers and families of those providing labor on the project, and to gathering the many artists required to adorn the temple with beauty and splendor by dint of labor and creative talent in the grand production. The Grand Masonic undertaking required different kinds of workers to get the job done. These workers included entered apprentice, fellow craft, and master masons. Each class of workers was associated with an increased level of knowledge and skill. As part of their training, Freemasons were encouraged to study the several liberal arts and sciences. And for those of you who don't know what those are, that would be grammar, rhetoric, logic, arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy. Studying arts and science makes Freemasons more rounded in their view of the world, interested in ever learning new skills, exploring the world around them, and creating understanding about those who are different from themselves. The fraternity uses the tools of Masonry as symbols to teach important lessons about life, more so lessons about how to live life. These lessons are conveyed in the rituals or degrees that have been transmitted to men in all ages. The lessons are timeless and universal, which would include friendship, morality, and brotherly love, or faith, hope, and charity, and how those are manifested in our lives. In the first degree, the candidates are presented the working tools of an entered apprentice as part of their ritual. The tools of an entered apprentice are the 24-inch gauge, which is essentially a ruler, which is used to lay out the work, and the common gavel. In operative masonry, the 24-inch gauge is used to lay out the work, and the common gavel is used to break off the superfluous parts of the stones to make them ready for the builder's use. Freemasonry, as we know it today, is what we would call speculative masonry. And in speculative masonry, the candidate is taught by the 24-inch gauge to divide his time evenly between his usual vocation, service to a distressed mason, or in service to God, and also to rest and refreshment. Speculative masonry teaches the candidate to fit his mind as a living stone for that house not made with hands, eternal in the heavens. So, what does this all have to do with anything going on in our daily lives? Practical masonry continues in modern times. We only have to look around and see the evidence in the great cities of the world, the monuments and memorials that fill our parks and public spaces, the roads that connect all corners of the land, and even in the details surrounding us in our homes. The world today is a different place. We are not bound to the land or to a lord or king, nor are we dependent on the luck of our birth or the foresight of our fathers to place us in a trade as apprentices that would result in a life with good prospects. Today, we are free to explore and create our own opportunities, and we must take advantage of those opportunities. If you ask a brother, which is what Freemasons call each other, brother, what Freemasonry is, he might answer that Freemasonry is a system of morality veiled in secrecy and illustrated by symbols, or he might say that it's an organization that makes good men better. Both are true. But like most other things in life, you get out of Freemasonry what you put into it. Going to the lodge has structure and form. There's a set time to meet, and the usual mix of men gather to practice the lessons of Freemasonry. This may start out with a heartfelt handshake for friends and long-standing, or an introduction to someone new. There may be a meal to share and time to catch up on each other's lives. Then it's time for the work of the evening. The officers will either have prepared to bring in a new candidate or to demonstrate some aspect of the ritual or lesson to those in attendance. This work, although familiar, can be seen differently each time. For some, the ritual work is a story, and that's it. For others, it's a challenge to learn the lesson that's hidden within the story, and for others, it's still a riddle for contemplation on a regular and ongoing basis. This is no different than the rituals or lessons that you encounter when attending services in your own faith community. Things like, prayers, hymns, or greetings regularly employed in the ceremonies. So is this what has attracted men to the fraternity for so long? The favorite story and familiar faces? Maybe in part, but I believe the attraction is in the search for the meaning in life. It is important to make time to consider your place in the world. It's important to consider how you occupy that place in the world. It is important to ask yourself the hard questions and to listen for the answers from the small voice within. I recently read an article in Reader's Digest, the distilled source of all things that one needs to know in 5 minutes or less. The article was Happiness, It's Not All It's Cracked Up to Be, which was by Emily Estahani Smith and originally in The Atlantic. And what I took away from that article was that there have been studies done that show that people would rather have meaning in their life than to be happy. Not that you can't have both, but given the choice, people lean towards having meaning. For a Mason, exploring the lessons of the 3 degrees on a regular basis allows for reflection on a familiar topic. It is new each time you see the work performed because your circumstances have changed based on the details of your life. This frames the lesson differently each time. Each time I see the work or participate in presenting the work, I have to think about the lesson. That I may ask myself, how am I doing with being a good man? As a human being, as a husband, as a father, as a friend. I've learned something about myself at these times when I contemplate these questions. And if you're not a Mason and you don't get to see the lessons, you can find out other ways to create this kind of opportunity for reflection. Reading a favorite text of Scripture, or an inspirational quote, being mindful of your interactions with the people you meet and interact with, or what you return to the world as you give thanks for the blessings in your life. The way we perceive the world, the meaning we derive from that perception extends beyond the moment that we are in. Consider the way you lead your life. It's not necessary to do something grand. The small things that you do not even acknowledge may have greater impact on those around you than you know. A friend of mine told me that your life is measured in the dash. The dash on your gravestone. Your life is not measured by the length of the dash on your gravestone, but by what you did with that dash. How did you spend your time? Did you live without regret? Did you practice charity? Did you live in grace? Did you laugh and sing? I hope that you take the opportunity to employ your own 24-inch gauge to divide your time and to judiciously employ the common gavel to prepare yourself for the builder's use. Do something every day to set yourself as a living stone in the world that others can build upon. Hey, time to dash. And I finished way early on this thing here, so if anybody's got any questions about Freemasonry or anything like that, I might be able to answer them, and there's a couple of other guys here who are members of the community who might have answers. So we'll entertain questions for like 5 minutes or so. Yes, hi.
Can you tell us about some of the charitable works that Freemasons support?
Okay, the question is, can I tell you about some of the charitable organizations that Freemasons support? So I'm sure most of you have heard of the Shriners Hospitals. Basically, the Freemasons support through donations and fundraising all of the activities of the Shriners Hospitals, which are for burns, for children who have experienced burns or have orthopedic injuries, and there is no cost to them or to their families for the services provided. On an ongoing basis, Freemasonry across the United States donates at a level of about $2 million a day to a variety of charitable organizations. Other charitable programs that you might be familiar with is there's a lot of appendant Masonic bodies that you might have heard of, like the Shriners or York Rite, Scottish Rite, and they all have their own charities that they like to do. The Grand Lodge of Massachusetts has a scholarship program that they put out over, I think it's at this point about $750,000 a year that they do to support education for students. But there's programs for just about everything, and if there's a need in a community, Masons are often found there to step up. In the back. So if you didn't hear what Peggy had to say, that basically they don't accept, the Shriners don't generally accept money from the insurance company, so it's all the work of the people who raise the funds to take care of those kids. Yes. The historical aspect of Freemasonry did come out of England, and it was somewhere around the early 1700s. It had existed prior to that throughout Europe in a less organized fashion. And if you look at the kind of allegorical history of Freemasonry, where you go back to the time of King Solomon's Temple or the building of the pyramids in Egypt, basically some form of that has existed, and you might have seen some aspect of it in the guild system during the Middle Ages, prior to the Black Plague, and which pretty much wiped out a good portion of the population in Europe and kind of wiped the slate clean and let people start again in terms of how they wanted to live life. But basically, Freemasonry is about the concept of seeking knowledge and finding ways to take care of the people in your life, to make the world a better place for having passed through. But the modern Freemasonry, which you can trace with records, basically goes back to the early 1700s, where it was organized in England and spread across the world as an organization, often through the colonization of the world. So the military units that would go out into the world, say from England to go off and take on different places. These military units would be off for years and years, often decades at a time, and so basically they were stuck with each other, and this provided an outlet for them because in Freemasonry, once you cross the threshold into the lodge room, everyone is equal. Some of the symbols of the fraternity are like an apron and white gloves if you're at a formal ceremony. With the gloves, essentially, you can't tell when you're wearing gloves if somebody makes their living shoveling dirt or pushing a pen. So basically, it brings everybody down. And one of my favorite stories along those lines is when I believe it was Franklin Roosevelt was president. The master of his home lodge, his mother lodge, was the gardener that worked for him. So when he went to lodge, the president would pay his respects to the master in the East, who happened to be his gardener. So all things being equal, when you cross the doorway, you're looking to explore what you have in common with the people you have in your meeting room. I hope that answered your question a little bit. Yes, young man. Okay. The CHIP program, which stands for Childhood Identification, Child Identification Program, CHIP. Basically, it's another free program sponsored by many Grand Lodges across the country now. But basically, it's a program that provides a forensics package to parents. And it's done in association with the local police association and the local dental association. So we take photographs. Well, actually, it's a DVD at this point that shows the child. You get a DNA sample from a Q-tip swab. You get a dental impression, and all of that goes back to the parents. We don't retain any of that. But basically, it's something we hope that people never have to use. But what it does do is it creates an opportunity in the community for people to get to know each other. I know that in my experience as an adult, there are often people in my neighborhood I have no idea who they are. And if I have an opportunity to meet people, it's usually not like because I'm going and banging on their doors, because I've run into them at some kind of an event. So the CHIP events that we run are often a way for us to make connections within our community and to look out for each other. And yes, Dick. Okay, I'll say what I can in that regard. So some people get upset, mostly women, who think that Freemasonry should be open to everyone. And if you're just looking for Masonry in general, there are organizations that are either just female Freemasonry or co-Freemasonry, but those lodges are not recognized by the Grand Lodges. And as we say, it's a fraternity, it's a private fraternity. Basically, that's why it's a men's organization. But there are female equivalent organizations most closely associated with Freemasonry as the Order of the Eastern Star. And basically they follow similar types of ritual or lessons in their degree programs, and also do charitable work and work in their communities to create opportunities. The youth programs that my brother Dick mentioned had to do with the DMLA program, which is a leadership program for young men, and the Rainbow Girls, and there are several other youth organizations that I'm not familiar with because I haven't known anybody that belongs to them. But basically, it offers opportunities for leadership and growth, and also to work and provide service in the community for youth. Yes? Okay, there's a couple of questions there. So I'll deal with the secrecy thing first. The secrecy is more to do with the way we recognize each other. So secret handshakes, that's not really such a big deal, I don't think. We're not trying to take over the world. We're not the New World Order. The aspect of that is of secrecy is to show that you trust the people that you're working with. You are entrusting them with perhaps your own personal secrets and asking them not to share those, or you're just telling them that, hey, you can tell me whatever you want. I am not going to tell anybody else. So that is what the aspect of secrecy is about. It's a matter of trust. In terms of the Elks and the fraternal organizations like the Elks and the Moose and all of those, if you compare side by side the tenets of what they profess to do and their mission, they're pretty much similar. And if you go back far enough, looking at the history, pretty much they all have roots that go back to Freemasonry. They have just kind of diverged along the way, similar to the Odd Fellows, which do similar kinds of work, but they've kind of gone off along the way. But basically, they're all about brotherhood and community and doing good things and taking care of people in the community. Did I answer all of the questions contained therein? Okay. Yes. There's an application process. Applications are made. You fill it out and you send it in, and they have these huge committees of guys who meet and spend hours and days and weeks going over all of these applications. I think last year they gave over 150 scholarships, but they had in the neighborhood of 1,000 applications for it. The application date It also helps if you're, I think it's a requirement that either a father or a grandfather is an active Mason to qualify, so there's kind of like that pre-qualifying thing. But in Bristol County, one of the sets of scholarships that are given by Grand Lodge are also open to anybody who is a resident of Bristol County. So basically, it's like any other scholarship. You got to figure out what the requirements are, but there's a committee who basically makes their decision based on need, and usually a list of participatory criteria of like what have you done, what do you want to do, kinds of things. There's an essay kind of question that they complete, and all of that is considered by a committee. Yes, in the back.
Don, do you want me to give a little more clarity to the youth programs?
Sure.
I'm not familiar with that.
Come on down. Go ahead, my friend.
All right, so a couple of things. First of all, the youth programs, the Order of the Eastern Star requires some form of Masonic affiliation. So either some immediate family member or your husband or something has to be a Mason in order to join Eastern Star, or, and we'll get to the youth programs in a minute, but the youth programs are available to anyone. There's no Masonic affiliation required. Generally, they start at about age 11 for the mainstream program, but they also have these pledge programs that go from like 8 to 11. And they're open to anyone that wants to join. In the Rainbow Girls, if you successfully complete 3 years as a Rainbow Girl and you turn 18, you can then join Eastern Star. So that's another way into Eastern Star. And if you guys have any questions about the youth programs, I'm very heavily involved in them, so now is a really good time to ask. No? Okay. Great.
Okay, so if there are no further questions, we'll get back to the service, and we'll close this out with our final hymn, "Oh, What a Piece of Work Are We," number 313 in the Great Hymnal. So, thank you for coming out today, and I would ask you to take time in your lives to reflect on the blessings that are in your life and to consider how you might offer yourself as a living stone to help others in your life and in your world to build upon. Thank you.